Hi, I'm Josh, your American English guide. Today we are talking about the top 8 principles. There is no one perfect best way to learn a language that works for everybody. But, don't leave, but if you follow these principles, I guarantee that you will succeed in your English learning journey. And how do I know this? Well, aside from my own personal experience teaching and learning languages, as well as my own research, most of these things are followed by most successful language learners. So let's get into it. Principle number 1, do not let fear stop you. This is the biggest problem for learning pretty much any skill. This also applies, for example, to me. When I started learning Spanish, when I started teaching myself Spanish, I knew that I had to practice speaking. And I was so terrified. I was scared so much. And I knew that I had to do it. So I found a partner to practice with, a language exchange, English and Spanish. And the first time that we spoke, I was super scared, but I did it. And I'm still friends with that person. I've told you that story in previous videos, and I will tell you again in future videos because it is so super important. You just have to do it. Another example, I am on TikTok. I was scared, very scared to start TikTok. I'm an introvert. Why do I have a YouTube channel? Why do I like learning languages? I don't even like talking to people in my own language, but here I am because I enjoy this and I want to help you guys. But just starting a TikTok account and starting to make videos there, even though I was already making YouTube videos, I was super scared to do that. But I knew that I couldn't let it stop me. So that's the number 1 thing. Do not be afraid of mistakes. You're going to make them. Don't be afraid of people laughing at you. Only stupid people will laugh. Most people will not. Don't be afraid of not understanding. I know it's natural. I tell you don't, you're going to anyway. Just do it anyway. It will become more comfortable over time. Do not let fear stop you. That is the one thing that kills all language learners. Don't let it stop you. Principle number 2, do what works best for you. Not somebody else, you. Okay? Now I'm going to give you a couple examples here. First, in language learning, there's a polyglot named Benny Lewis, the Irish polyglot. He speaks from day 1 and he has a speaking first approach. On the other side of this, you have people like Steve Kaufman, who really talk a lot about listening a lot, reading a lot, worry about speaking later. Both of these people are polyglots. Both of them speak more than 10 languages. Both of their approaches work. Some people like to speak earlier, some people like to speak later. That's fine. Some people want to have a perfect accent. Some people just want to speak clearly enough to be understood. That's perfectly fine. The entire purpose of this course is to give you the knowledge, the tools, and the resources that you need to figure out what works best for you and how to actually use that, put it together, and achieve your English goals. Now I'm going to give you a second example. So I try to play the guitar. Try is the key word there. And I have a problem with the guitar. Don't worry, this is perfectly relevant to what we're talking about. Now, I'm right-handed, like most people. But if you look here, my finger, it doesn't bend all the way. So if I try to play the guitar, and I'm trying to play, it doesn't work very well. It's very difficult. So I decided that I was going to learn how to play the guitar left-handed. This is a left-handed guitar. So this hand goes down here. Now, many people would say, my finger is stupid, I can't play the guitar, and they just don't try. I wanted to play the guitar anyway, so I said, oh well, let's get a lefty. And on top of that, so I still have difficulty with this up here, but I have ways to work around it. So my fingers are also very fat. You can probably see they're very thick. And there's a thing called an A chord. So normally that would be used like this. There would be these these three things here. Now I can't do that because my fingers are too thick and whatever. So instead I go here, under and over. I found a way to modify it and make it work. See, that's the thing. I can play the guitar. I need to practice more, of course. Definitely need that. But I can play the guitar. I'm not letting my physical limitation stop me. I'm working around it. So you have to do what works best for you, and that includes trying to work around anything that you think might be a problem or something that will stop you. Principle number 3. Set clear and manageable goals and know why you are learning English. Now we're going to talk more about that later in this course, so don't worry too much about that right now. Principle number 4, be consistent. I will repeat that, be consistent. It is much, much better to study or practice for just 10, 20 minutes a day than to study for 3 hours one time a week. Much, much better. Okay? It's this consistent practice and exposure that is going to make you progress. Principle number 5, keep it relevant to you, your goals, your needs, your interests. Now there is value in using learner material, and of course there's lots of value watching my videos or other English teachers' videos, especially when we're giving you real English or tips and tricks instead of a bunch of rules in a textbook or a bunch of useless vocabulary in a textbook. If you're learning English and your textbook tells you the word for international relations, if you care about that, that's a good word to know. If you don't care about that, don't learn it. Don't learn it. That's one of the problems with traditional classes is they just give you words and they try to give you grammar that you should know at that level. This is why if you're going to work with a teacher, either one-on-one or in a classroom setting, you want to make sure that the teacher is going to address your specific interests and needs and keep it relevant to you. Don't just blindly follow a textbook that some teacher is trying to give you, because that's a sign of a bad teacher. I'm not saying using a textbook is necessarily bad. Textbooks can be useful. And of course, there is use in grammar, even grammar drills. And if you are at a lower level, then of course there is a lot of use in beginner material that maybe isn't so interesting. It's not required, but it can be very useful. Principle number 6, understand the importance of context and be comfortable not knowing. It doesn't matter if you're speaking, you're not sure how to say something, try anyway. Or if you're listening and you don't understand a word, keep listening. Try to use the context, try to work around it. This is going to help you so much more than stopping to look up every little word you don't know or not saying something because you're afraid to make a mistake. In fact, paying attention to context will help you learn a lot more easily and naturally. It will be uncomfortable, but that's normal. Don't worry, just keep going. It will become easier and more comfortable as you progress. Principle number 7, prioritize what you learn. This is one of the most important principles, and it's actually directly related to principle number 5. Now, this doesn't just mean to keep things relevant in terms of, oh, I'm going to prioritize things that I'm interested in. Of course, do that, but it goes deeper than that. It's not just about the what, it's about the when and how. In other words, the order and way in which you choose to learn English. For example, I always talk about, for anybody learning any language, but especially for English learners at any level, to start with pronunciation or to start working with pronunciation if you're not a beginner. And ear training, of course, very important. Why? Because it gives you so much benefit for your general English that not doing that pronunciation and ear training, you're actually losing a big benefit. You don't have to, it's perfectly fine, But because there's so much potential benefit, I highly recommend that you start there. That's the best place, in my opinion, to start. After that, a common thing that a lot of people like to do is try to learn the most common 2,000 words, because the 2,000 most common words tend to be about 85% of words that are used every day in speech. That gives you a very big benefit. Not all language learners, including polyglots, use that approach. Not all language learners, including polyglots, care that much about pronunciation or start with it. That's perfectly fine, right? It's not necessarily relevant to them, and it's not something that they're going to prioritize necessarily in that order. Maybe they'll work on pronunciation later. So I want you to start thinking this way instead of just, my teacher told me this. I want you to say, okay, what do I want to do, and how and when do I want to do it? This course is going to help you figure that out. And finally, principle number 8. This is a big, big secret. I don't think you're ready for this. Okay, I'm going to tell you anyway. Practice what you want to improve. Mind blown. I know, right? It seems so simple, it seems so obvious, and it kind of is, but so many people don't do this. So many English learners over the last however many years have asked me, how do I improve my speaking? How do I improve my listening? You know, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And that's fine, right? It's good to look for new techniques and things. That's why I'm here helping you. That's what this course is about, giving you everything you need. But the answer is in the question. The answer is in the question. If you want to improve your speaking, how do you improve it? You speak a lot, right? If I have this guitar here, I could sit here and I could, memorize all the notes, and actually playing them would help, but I could just sit here and say, okay, this is this note, this is this note, this is this note, without playing it. That's like grammar. It's just a description, where even without that knowledge, I could come and actually practice and figure it out and make mistakes. You're going to make mistakes. Don't let that fear stop you from actually practicing what you need to improve. And when it comes to things like grammar, remember, grammar is a knowledge area. It is not a skill. It is a description of English. It is a description of meaning. It does not create meaning. Okay? So if you want to improve your speaking, for example, which I know many of you do, or if you want to improve your grammar specifically, grammar is improved through the use of the language. You can't just sit there and say, I want to improve my grammar so that I don't make mistakes when I speak. It's the opposite. You have to speak a lot so that you don't make any more mistakes with your grammar. A little bit of grammar study can be very, very useful, and there are times for that. But generally, you have to just go and practice. Same with listening. If you don't understand, just keep listening, keep listening, keep listening. But I can't understand. What do I do? Keep listening. Practice what you want to improve. It is generally that simple. Aside from specific things that I'm going to tell you guys in this course, generally speaking, it is that simple. My question for you, are there any of these principles that maybe you knew about, but you've always had difficulty actually following? Of course, you can also leave any questions or comments that you have down below. Thank you so much for watching another English Hacks video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.